blacks are taking over, they're coming over here, fucking Muslims are gonna bomb everywhere.
A film, Dear White People, was made. It's on Netflix, you can check it out. That was to address all the little microaggression, all the instances of racism that happen in just everyday occurrences. If there was a show called Dear Black People made by black people, I'd be down to watch it. So if a white man has made a show for you, I think it's probably within your interest to watch it and see what he has to say. So not outright, you're a nigger, we hate you, but just things like, oh my god, your hair is so like,
can I touch it?
Yeah, can you wash it? Like it's one that I get. And things like that, you know, so it's, you know, the whole touching it thing, I've learned to just be like, you know what, it's okay for us to be curious about each other, touch it.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with that-ish. So basically the film depicts loads of instances of white people.
White ignorance, basically.
Yeah, white ignorance of being...
White ignorance about the black plight, do you know what I'm saying? And I think, for me, watching the film, it was basically trying to explain that, because it even dealt with the struggle of black identity as well. Yeah. So it wasn't all just about white people. So anyone that's really getting up in arms about this fucking new series, just don't get what the fuck this show is about at all. So that's just my little fucking introduction on that.
People just like, grow up. Like, talk about hard shit. If I heard a program that was called Dear Black People, I wouldn't be like, oh, what the fuck? So I'm not gonna talk about Dear Black People, what the fuck? I would just be like, oh shit.
But I don't really watch stuff like that because I get so angry. I don't know if you guys
Oh no, this wasn't one of those ones. It's not Bruce. And it's not Amistad. You know? Yeah, it's just funny. Do you know what I mean? It's light-hearted.
But it's actually quite well-rounded as well.
Yeah,
it's not like it explores every level. It's not like it's
not just hammering into white people. It's not that.
Yeah.
Let's stop taking the bait all the time, innit? And let's just have the discussion. So if I saw a program about Dear Black People, the first thing in my head would be like, I wonder what this is about. You gotta even know what the fucking program is about first. Like, do you even know what the program's about?
Now there's going to be a series airing on Netflix, and a lot of white people have decided to delete their accounts because the title is Dear White People, so they just automatically assume it's going to be telling them how to be.
Acceptable Halloween costumes. Pirates, unacceptable costumes. Me.
Apparently there's a backlash of white people who are upset about the title and are cancelling their Netflix subscriptions. I wanted to see and check this out myself, so I typed in Dear White People to Twitter, saw some tweets, and actually stumbled across one from the writer that said, fuck white people, which is a little interesting. Not sure quite how I feel about that. I get what he's doing. Maybe I think he's doing too much.
There's a point that Snips raised, I'm not sure if the camera caught or not, but it's interesting because now we're actually just debating, like, when we say a lot of white people are like, up in arms about this shit, yeah, like how many white people are really up in arms about this shit? Is it just a small cross section of white demographic, and then therefore the news articles are fucking blowing it up, making it seem like it's a bigger deal than it actually is?
Because when I heard this, my instant reaction was, I don't know any white people would have a problem with that. But then this is a symptom of me not existing in a world where I would ever associate with the type of person that would feel like that. So I can't now understand whether or not this is a large demographic, is it a small demographic? This is not off topic, but I was having a conversation the other day, and it really something occurred to me, and we were talking about the concept of community, and a friend of mine was talking about, but in the white community this, and in the black community this, and I thought, there's no such thing as a white community.
You guys are invisible.
But the thing is, exactly. And we were talking about it. We were saying, all right, you could be a British-born Nigerian living in London, and you could be speaking to a Birmingham-born person of Jamaican heritage. So culturally, there's still a lot of differences, but you share some level of understanding because you're essentially living in a world where you have a similar type of obstacle, or you have similar type of oppression that you face. So there's still an element of understanding. White people don't have that. So we got into this conversation talking about the whole the women's march and how there was a anger from black feminism that white feminism wasn't as inclusive of black issues, right? And we were talking about the fact that, obviously, I would say the majority of these white women voting that were marching probably weren't the people that voted for Trump. They probably weren't that 53%. But the argument from black feminism was, well, they need to address their community. They need to address the fact that so many did. And I was trying to think, well, why wouldn't they do that? And it occurred to me, it's like, because as white people, we don't see ourselves as part of one community. So like, if you're a white person and you speak to a white person that politically or socially feels completely different, you look at them as alien. Like, I feel like other minority groups don't do that because essentially there's still a level of understanding based upon having to deal with similar structures in the Western world. We don't have it. Like, if I speak to a far right white person, to me, I'm like, you're like, I don't see you as being part of my community.
I was gonna say, this is the thing, when you're using anecdotal evidence in terms of people that live in London, we live in a bubble. Like, we live in a place where we're the minority in this country. Like, everybody in London is a minority to everybody else in the UK, just because our views are going to be completely different to somebody. Maybe not every city.
Let me stop you.
Okay, go on.
I'm originally from Bristol.
Okay, yeah, but that's what I mean. You're still from a city. Yeah, but you're still from a city.
Southampton.
Yeah.
There's this thing with Londoners. Yeah. No disrespect. Londoners think everywhere outside of London is country. And I had this discussion. I had this discussion after Brexit. Yeah, they're like, yeah, but that's because we're from London. I'm like, hold on. Bristol, Manchester, Birmingham, they all voted the same. Liverpool, they voted the same as London. Like, they're both like, I grew up in St Paul's in Bristol, but I was one of 2 white kids in my whole year at school. When I tell people I'm from Bristol, they're like, oh, you don't get it, you're from the countryside somewhere.
I don't mean, maybe I should have said London, I should have said cities.
Yeah, but like,
because people in cities are always going to be in the minority,
but
because they live amongst people.
Still make up the majority of the country.
That's a fair point. Brexit was a 50-50, wasn't it? Essentially, it was a 50-50, just by like, what, 1% or something like that. So, I get your point. There's 50% of the UK that thinks similar to the other 50%, but you know, there's still a divide in it.
One of my friends told me that if he was in America, he would have voted Trump. That's what I'm saying. He's not also, I don't want you to get the image of like he's one of them so-called Uncle Tom niggas. He's not one of those guys. He's literally same as us, man, right here. You would think there's no way he's voting Trump. You should have, I almost left my fucking yard. I almost like, you know what, I can't do this shit.
But was it because he was misinformed? Was it because he'd heard and he'd
So you would feel like you wanted to understand. If a white person tells me they voted Brexit, I just think, oh, you're one of them fucking people. You know, which is bad because essentially you don't actually learn anything that way. But it's different.
If a black guy came up to me and said, yeah, I voted Brexit, I'd be like, what the fuck? I would want a reason. If a white person said it to me, I'd be like, okay, but I already know your reason. Even though I might not know their reason, but I would assume that I would. You know what I mean? Whereas I would not have no fucking idea why.
The answer with the black person, I just assume might be a little bit more interesting than immigrants in our country. You know, like, but yeah, what you're saying about, you know, Trump even, like, in your black friend, he's black, I'm assuming. Yeah, wanting to vote for Trump. Yeah, I mean, because I've got a lot of African American friends who felt the same way. And at first I was a bit perplexed by it. And then obviously I had to ask them questions. And you know what? I don't hate their answers. Their answers a lot were like, you know what? If Hillary would have won, we would have been overshadowed by the fact that it was the first woman president to have won. So she could have got away with a lot of bullshit, and the fact that she's a woman, and that would have been great for feminism, would have overshadowed that. So we may not have been able to speak about it. With Donald Trump, he is the type of...
But you realise that argument came from white people when Obama got in.
Really, that he was overshadowed?
No, but like the whole, like, from poor white people, the same poor white people that voted in Trump, that whole kind of thing of like, oh, but you know, it's another issue that doesn't necessarily speak to our issue, so our issue might get overshadowed. That's how poor white people felt when Obama, it was like, oh, but he's black, so he'll get away with this, and you know, our issue. I'm not saying it's right, but like, it's the same. This is what we were talking about the other day about people only caring about the issues that affect them.
Yeah, because you know, like, I've got to this point because there's so much going on in the world right now, and it's so easy to get angry at everything, and I often do, but I can't feel that way. So now I've got to a point where I'm like, you know what, if white feminism doesn't care about black women, I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that because how can I expect people who've never experienced what I have to emphasize and fully understand that experience? Just in the same way I'm not marching for Syrian women, you know, right now. And just in the same way straight women aren't marching.
I get your point, but to relate it back to this, Dear White People thing, the people that are up in arms of a show called Dear White People seems to me tend to be the people that just can't look in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Because then you have to kind of like ask questions. to yourself that you don't want to fucking ask. Because you might have to admit to yourself that you might be a little slightly racist. And because you don't want to be seen like that, and now you're going to look yourself in the mirror, you're just easy, like, fuck you, have a show about that, I mean, you don't even take your time to understand that. So, but getting to your point about, you don't have to be part of, basically, if someone's got, if that's their struggle, you don't have to necessarily, if you can't empathize, you just kind of got to leave that alone. But I'm kind of like, look, the same way the black people have their struggle, whatever. They have their plight, they have their oppression and obstacles they're trying to get over in like a white dominated society. Cool. Doesn't mean that when I see like a female only DJ set, I'm not then tell the fan, what only females? Fuck this shit. I'm not doing that. Sorry, I'm not saying that's what you're saying.
But you're intelligent, and the majority of the world is not.
Essentially, what it's doing is, if you are at like the top of the food chain in the sense that you are, by default, you're here, and everybody else is here. Even if you think that you're not racist, right? The fact that you're used to everybody else being here. When people start to move up,
feels like it's taken away from
you feel like you're losing something.
Exactly.
So that's why these people say, you see these hashtags from like Trump voters being like, white genocide. They're trying to commit white genocide because it's like you're so entitled. You're so entitled that you actually feel like giving somebody else an equal footing somehow means that you're losing suppression. I have these conversations with people, and you would think, see what I just said before about, if you're a black male, you might understand misogynism, but you could relate it due to the fact of understanding a different type of oppression. Or you could speak to a gay white male who might understand based upon the fact of being. You would think that those things translate, but they don't. They don't, which is why you've got white female racists and you've got black male misogynists, or you've got white gay racists, or white female homophobes or whatever. All these things, you would think that they all translate, but they don't, because people only give a shit about what issues affect them. People only care about what affects them.
Can I explain Snips' point about social hierarchy? Wait, what was it about again?
So in regards to this response, I guess we have to bring it back to this. In response to white people online becoming upset with the title Dear White People, what do you think that is?
People who are deleting their accounts because it's called Dear White People. I think it's a bit ridiculous. I don't think there's anything wrong with the name, and people getting upset, they've just got issues and they need to talk it out. I don't know.
I've got a weird theory on this. I think working class white people are the most angry. Because they're the ones who feel like our voices aren't heard, blacks are taking over, they're coming over here, fucking Muslims are gonna bomb everywhere, like all this, it's all being taken away from us, we've got nothing. Like, they're the most angry. And I think their anger's directed wrong, it's being directed at stuff like this. But I do feel like they have a right to be angry, not at immigrants or at people. I think what's happening is, working class white people are being fucked over by the same system that's fucking over everybody else, but they're being given misinformation about who that anger should be directed at, should be directed back at the system. But now the problem, the people that I think are most guilty of this are middle class and middle to upper class white liberal people, because middle to upper class white, they've become the voice for progressive white people, right? For me, I come from a background of working class white family that grew up in predominantly black area and saw my black neighbours as more similar to me than I did upper class white people. Not everybody came from that background. Some people came from working class white families where they didn't see anything other than white working class. So I try and empathise with them and think, well, you've not experienced what I've experienced. You've been sold a misinformation. Where I think that they're justified in their anger is the fact that the people that are now speaking for them as white people are liberal, upper class white people who aren't affected by racial politics, and they're not affected by economic politics. As a black person, you're affected by racial politics whether you're poor or rich. As a working class white person, you won't be affected by racial politics, but the fact that you're poor means you're affected by economic politics. The middle class white people aren't affected by either, yet they've somehow become this voice of white progression.
Snips sort of went off on a little bit of a rant about the social economic hierarchy, as it were. I don't remember everything he said, but it trickles down from the white man being at the very top and not encountering pretty much any prejudice to the white woman almost being on a par with a black male to a certain extent, and then going to poor white people are the most angry in any city or any environment you're going to find them, whether it be in America, whether it be in the UK, anywhere.
So you see these people like, don't say that, you can't say that, oh my God, no, don't say that. You have to, that's not the correct political term. You have to refer to someone as a cisgender. And, you know, like, these people...
Let's not do that. Cisgender shit, please.
No, but do you see what I'm saying?